Good day everyone, I'm Giovanni and today I'm going to discuss about the introduction of a circle graph. So circle graph, also known as a pie graph, of visualizing information and data. Earliest known circle graph are generally credited to William Playfair and Florence Nightingale. So, William Playfair. The single graph was first used in 1801 by William Playfair. William Playfair is a Scottish businessman, engineer, and economics writer known for inventing of statistical graphs, writer on political economy, and secret agent for Great Britain. Florence Nightingale. Florence Nightingale used circle graph on 1800s. She is an English social reformer, statistician, and the founder of modern nursing known as the Lady with the Lamp. She was known for writing over 150 books, pamphlets, and reports on health-related issues. She is also credited with creating one of the first versions of pie chart.
Hi, I'm Jean Redoble from BSA 1E. This time, I'm gonna show and present to you the objectives for today's lesson. So at the end of this topic, we can learn about the history of circle graph, which includes its inventor. Next would be the description or the definition of our topic, which is the circle graph. Then the sample problem, which includes the steps, process on how to solve, how to create, and how to calculate and illustrate pie graph. The next would be the generalization or conclusion. And lastly is the application, which is the use and importance of pie graph. That would be all for the objectives, and this time we will go to the history of circle graph.
So, this is Army and Kalumbay guys, and yes, this time we will talk about the history of pie chart. The earliest known pie chart is generally credited to William Playfair's Statistical Breviary of 1801, in which two such graphs are used. Playfair presented an illustration which contained a series of pie charts. One of those charts depicted the Turkish Empire located in Asia, Europe, and Africa before 1789. This invention was not widely used at first. Playfair thought that pie charts were in need of a third dimension to add additional information. Florence Nightingale may not have invented the pie chart, but she adapted it to make it more readable, which fostered its wide use still today. Indeed, Nightingale reconfigured the pie chart, making the length of the wedges variable of the width. She was later assumed to have created it due to the obscurity and lack of practicality of Playfair's creation. Nightingale's polar area diagram, or occasionally the Nightingale's rose diagram, equivalent to a modern circular histogram, to illustrate seasonal sources of patients' mortality in the military field hospital she managed, was published in Notes on Matters Affecting the Health, Efficiency, and Hospital Administration of the British Army, and sent to Queen Victoria in 1858. According to the historian Hawksmoor, she may have been the first to use the pie chart for persuading people of the need for change. The French engineer Charles Joseph Maynard also used pie chart in 1858. A map of his from 1858 used pie chart to represent the cattle sent from all around France. The early types of pie chart in 19th century is the pie chart for William Playfair's The Statistical Breviary in 1801, one of the pie chart in 1801, Maynard's map in 1858, and the polar chart by Florence Nightingale Nightingale in 1858.
So I'm back again, and this time I will discuss the definition of terms. First in line would be the circle graph. The figure above is an example of a circle graph commonly known as pie chart. A pie chart or circle graph is a circular statistical graphic which is divided into slices to illustrate numerical proportion. In a pie chart, the arc length of each slice and consequently its central angle or area proportional to the quantity it represents. It is the intersection graph of a set of circle chords in graph theory. That is, it is an undirected network whose vertices can be associated with circular chords, and two vertices are adjacent only if the corresponding chords cross. So, when to use a circle graph? We will use circle graph when the data is varied. Next is when you have a maximum of 7 data snippets. And lastly, when you're comparing parts of a whole. This time is when not to use a circle graph. First, we will not use a circle graph when we have similar data values. Second, when accuracy is the name of the game. And lastly is when you have to show patterns, cause or effects, or changes over time. Next would be the advantages of circle graph. Circle graph showcase numerical information in an easy to understand manner. Second, circles are pros at information visualization. Third, circle chart are circular. And lastly, pie chart are easy to construct. The next would be the arc. Each slices on the circle figure above is an example of an arc. So what is an arc? An arc is a part of a circle and is named according to its angle. It is any smooth curve joining 2 points. So the figure shown is an example of an arc. There are 3 types of arc. First is the minor arc. Minor arc are arcs that have a degree measure less than 180 degree, and here is an image for it. Second is the major arc. Major arc are arcs that have a degree greater than 180 degrees, and here is an example for that. Third and last part is semicircle. Semicircle are arcs that have a degree measure equal to 180 degree, and here is the example for that. The next would be the types of circle graph, which will be discussed by Hermione Cajes again.
So, there are different types of pie graph or circle graph. First is the basic circle graph or pie graph. Second is the exploded circle graph or pie graph. Third is the 3D circle graph or pie graph. Overview of pie chart subtypes. Pie. The basic pie chart everyone knows and loves, which shows the breakup of a single of data. Exploded pie. The name sounds like a vaudeville gag, but exploded pie chart simply separates each piece of a pie with a small amount of white space. Usually, Excel charting mavens prefer to explode such a single slice of a pie for an ordinary pie subtype. Pie of pie. With this subtype, you can break out one slice of a pie into its own smaller pie, which itself is broken down into slices. This chart is great for emphasizing specific data. Bar of pie. The bar of pie subtype is almost the same as the pie of pie subtype. The only difference is that breakup of the combined slice is shown in a separate stock bar instead of a separate pie. And lastly, pie in 3D and excluded pie in 3D. This option pie types in 3 dimensions titled slightly away from the viewer of more dramatic appearance. The differences are purely cosmetic. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Princess Ali Pinto, and for today, I'm going to share some sample problems about pie chart or pie graph. And this is the sample 1 of the pie chart or the pie graph. The pie chart below shows the percentages of types of transportation used by 800 students coming to school. A. How many students in the school come by bicycle? B. How many students do not walk to school? And C. How many students come to school by bus or in a car? As you can see in the pie graph, there are 4 kinds on how the students come to school. First, bicycle, 45%, walking, 15%, bus, 30%, and car, 10%. To get the answer in each letter, we gave the solutions of each. So for the A, we computed 45% times 800 and it is equal to 360 students. And for letter B, we subtracted 100% minus 15% times 800 and it is equal to 680 students. And lastly, for letter C, we added 30% plus 10% multiplied 800 and it is equal to 320 students. So we conclude that there are 360 students using bicycle going to school and there are 680 students does not walk going to school and 320 students they are using bus or a car. And that's all for the sample 1 of the pie graph or pie chart. Thank you for listening.
So good morning everyone, my name is Bryce Suico and I'll be explaining the steps on how to create a pie graph using Microsoft Word and at the same time giving you one example on applying these steps. So here are the steps I made when you create a pie graph using Microsoft Word. So the first step is to identify the data that needs to be graphed. Second step, click insert, then choose chart, then choose pie. So the third, input your data on spreadsheet and indicate the legend of your data. Fourth, choose a certain format on how you want your pie graph to be displayed. Fifth, finish up by applying and saving your output. So let us apply the steps. So I made here an example of a certain situation where we could apply these steps. So Kai is the owner of a resto bar, wanted to know which of her best sellers were the best. She conducted a survey to 100 people to know which of these best sellers are being sold more and not. So we have here the survey that she conducted, the data of the survey. So the first step again was to identify the data that needs to be graphed. So this is the data that you need to graph, right? So second step, click insert, then choose chart, then choose pie. Okay. So we have here insert and we have chart. So we click chart and then we choose pie. So as you choose pie, the spreadsheet automatically shows up. So the third step was to input your data on the spreadsheet and indicate the legend of your data. So we have here pizza, then we have burgers, then we have hot dogs, then sandwiches, So for physicists, there were 33 votes. For burgers, 39. Then for hot dogs, 22. And that's what actually 16 for sandwiches. And these are not called sales, these are after inputting all the data, you just click enter. You press X, you close the spreadsheet, then there you have it. Increase the size. So you can change the formatting pressing the plus, by pressing the format chart area. Oh no, I was supposed to already, so I'll try to find yeah, here, edit data. Oh no, so not the one. Where was that? Oh yeah, here, you can change the styles of your pie graph, how you want them to see the data. So yes, here we have it. It can be like that, like this. It depends on what you choose. I like this one better. So that was the fourth step on how to create a pie graph. So last this is finishing up by applying and saving your output. So as you can see, the data of your situation was already correctly inputted. So therefore, this is the final pie graph on the food survey of Kahes Restaurant. So I'll just save this and it's done. So that is all. Thank you.
So, in generalization, pie or circle graph is a circular statistical graphic used to visualize information or data. It is a way of summarizing a set of nominal data or displaying the different values of a given variable. For example, percentage distribution. It is usually used easily to show the results of an investigation or study in a proportional manner. Or in short, it is a circular statistical graphic, which is divided into slices to illustrate numerical proportion. The size of the segments of the circle is made proportional to the quantity it represents. And the data in the circle graph can be obtained using the formula given data divided by the total value of data times 360. These graphs are visually simpler than other graphs and are best used when you're trying to compare parts of a whole. This type of graph is useful especially in class or in business because it helps to summarize a large data set in visual form and displays relative proportions of multiple classes of data. Important note of this graph is that do not use this kind of graph if you are going to show patterns, causes or effects, or changes of time.
Hi everyone, I am Art Furniture from BSA 1. A pie pie graph is a type of graph in which a circle is divided into sectors that each represent a proportion of the whole, just like a pie chart of how public money is spent. So pie graphs are used to show the sales of a company, the year-wise, and it also show you the data clearly, and we can understand it easier. Pie graphs are mainly used to show comparison. It also used in our schools because pie graphs are used to show how much time is allotted for each. So pie graphs can be used to show percentage of a whole and represent percentage at a set point in time, unlike pie graphs and line graphs. Pie graphs do not changes in over time. So therefore, pie graph in today's era are one of the most widely used.